the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, just plus the world's best quiz. The Cubs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Is the electricity working today?
It is on at the moment, and we got no builders in today, so we could be in for a good podcast. Welcome to day number 3 of the Chile PWA IWT World Cup. Obviously, we have done some heats last night, depending where you are in the world, but I hope you've been watching. If you haven't been watching, you've been missing out, but we are here to give you a kind of a run through of kind of the moments, the standout moments yesterday, standout sailors, waves of the day, that type of stuff. We're going to run through the heats, have a look at the scores, and just basically have a bit of a chat about what is going on in Chile. There's no final results yet. We are still just working out through the heat, working way through the heats. There's been some great local standouts, and a couple of them have made it all the way through. The women's fleet's been going off, some chunky waves over in Chile as well. Not easy conditions. Let us know in the comments who have you been your standout sailors, who you're rooting for, who you think is going to win the competition. Paul Van Bellen, did you stay up and watch it?
No, that was the short answer, because I did want to, but it kept getting pushed back. Was it true that the wind took a while to present itself?
Yeah, it's true. They had some long heats actually yesterday, like 27-minute heats with a 3-minute transition. So long heats. And I think that worked pretty well. Obviously, some heats, there was different swells coming through. Really interesting actually hearing Marcilio Brown on the commentary explaining how he kind of had his heat. We're going to go through the different heats, but his kind of way of looking at it, where he saw the set come through, he knew the timing between that and the next heat, because sometimes it was like 20 minutes between waves. But because he'd known one came through before his heat, he kind of thought, well, I'm going to get 2 sort of good sets in my heat at least. And he really took advantage of that. And I thought he was definitely a standout yesterday. Interesting as well. He's been a lot of times to Matanzas. When Robbie Swift had his house on the hill here, he was coming out for quite a few years in a row. And sailing here, so he does know the spot. And I knew he'd been there, but I didn't realize he'd been there that much. So that's pretty ominous for a lot of the riders, because he looked really on it yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, I thought himself and Costa as well, and Antoine Martin. Yeah,
there was quite a few standouts. Like I said, we're going to go through the heats yesterday. So how it started was they did the redemption round. So this is basically anyone who was out in the first round gets a second chance in this redemption round. The first and second riders from the first round jump around. So they go straight to round 3. And then there's this kind of like do or die heats in this second round. And these are the guys, if they lose, they're out. If they're in the, if they win it, they come second, they go through into the third round. So we're not doing a double elimination. So normally on the PWA and years gone by, on the PBA and stuff, it's a double elimination where you would sail a single elimination. So every heat, if you don't make it through, you're knocked out. But then if the wind and conditions play ball, you would get a second chance in this full double elimination. I'm not going to explain the whole ins and outs of that. Whereas actually in Chile with the IWT and PWA combined, they've got a dingle format, which is, like I said, you get the first round, no one can get knocked out, but the winners and the second place riders go to the third round, and then the losers go to a second round, do or die. So this was a big one for a couple of the riders. Some of them have come a long way, and if they lose here, that's it. That's their kind of a competition over with. And they'll be getting, if you finish last in this redemption round, you'll be getting a last place for this competition. Third place, you will be, I think there's 4 heats, so you'll be 4 places up from the bottom. So it does make a difference finishing third or fourth, but obviously third is better than fourth, but you won't be playing any more, action, and you won't be sailing any more heats in this competition here in Chile.
Yep. No, it's a bit hard for the sailors, but exciting for the viewers because all of a sudden the heats really mean something now. So it's. I thought it was a really good day, wasn't it? It was. The waves were good. The people sailed well. It looked tricky at times. I thought the. You see these sort of firing down the line waves and think, oh yeah, what's just go off down the line. But you could tell that there was some tricky sections to navigate and some punchy sections that were probably hard to deal with. And yeah, it was a bit tricky, I thought, as well, wasn't it? They made it probably look easier than it was.
Yeah.
And it didn't look easy.
And the heats were difficult. You could see the local boys were doing well. I thought Adam Barchol, I think he's on your screen now. Look at that for a turn. I watched that live. This was an epic wave. I really thought, seen him sailing, and on his good waves, he looks super good. But spoiler alert, he didn't make it through. But this was, I thought this was a really well-ridden wave, really critical, really good. But as we will see in a minute, Andres Tombar, which I'm guessing is a local rider, he had the absolutely killer wave. Like it was monster, good size, rode it all the way to the end and then finished with this massive, like chunky, big fat aerial. And, when you watch him from home, even though you know a couple of the riders, you want them to do well and whatever, but you're all rooting for the locals, aren't you? You really want to see, I think it's just natural that you go for the underdog. Not that they're, worse sailors, but they're obviously not ranked in the World Cup. They're obviously, these guys have probably been watching the World Cup for years and have dreamt of going head to head against some of the top guys in the world. So you can imagine what it means to these guys with all the local support on the beach. I thought that was pretty epic. Swifty in this first redemption round, I thought he sailed a really solid heat. He's been ill with food poisoning. That was the word on the street. And that would account for how he was sailing the other day because he really didn't look on his game. But he looked definitely better today. But we're going to come on to that in the third round in a minute. But he did make it out the redemption round.
This wave here was started off well, but it was a decent wipeout here for Dieter.
Yeah, Dieter Van Dijken, yeah.
Yep, you'll see what happens.
He definitely didn't have it all his own way in Chile so far. I thought this would suit him, but he never really got running. Had a couple of good waves, don't get me wrong, but look at this.
See that?
For anyone listening audio only, in Chile, if you've not watched any of the live stream, there is sort of two sections to this wave. And the second one, you almost have to jump over a little bump to get into that second lineup. And Dieter does it then, but then nosedives fully on one of the bigger, chunkier, heavier sections of the day. I mean, that looked pretty nasty. But you can see it. You can see this double up wave there. You see he's on that wave behind, and then he has to kind of go into the next sort of swell, which comes from lower down. And certain times of the day it's easier. This was just it literally sucked out from underneath him. You can see he's really on top of the wave, trying to just drop over the top. He just drops down the mine shaft, and he just gets absolutely spanked. Oh,
lucky he got out of the foot straps, because that's how you do ankles and knees and things, isn't it? Anyway, so that was a exciting moment in the heat. I'll go back to normal speed again.
Yeah. Can we have a look? You've got Andres's Tombar's wave in this. I mean, there's plenty of Swifty waves. He was really consistent in this wave. I think he had good wave selection and just rode them really kind of cleanly. But I thought it was a good performance from Swift. Very solid. Didn't really look like he had any problems, sort of sailing within himself. Obviously, people who don't know, we talked about, he did have a house here for quite a few years, so he does know how to sail Matanzas. But Tombar's wave, I said, it was not far from near the end.
Which one? Is that Tombar there?
No, I think he's on a Severn, if I remember.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry, that was Warchol.
Barchol, like I said, I think he was unlucky. From someone who I've watched sailing and watched some of his waves, I thought he was actually standout. I thought everything looked like it was working good, and he, that Tombar wave was kind of not a normal wave. It was pretty special. So I think he got outdone there, and obviously you still have to ride it well.
I've made a few timestamps here, so it's apologies because obviously this is a 5.5 hour long video. But before we get to the tow bar wave, this was an important moment because Warchol was sitting in second place, and this wave here would have probably helped solidify his position into the next round.
Yes.
And I found that this was a pretty critical moment because there was 4 minutes to go. He was sitting in second place, but Tobar had only had one wave score. He was
logo high.
Yeah. Tobar was going to back up his score, and it started off pretty well.
That was it, if I remember right.
Oh no, that's right. So what happened was he was frustrated because he just got caught up and didn't run with the wave. The wave ran away from him, and therefore his score was less than ideal. And then Tobar got a good score, which I'll bring up now. So I was at 124.
The thing is, that Adam wave there, which run down, I thought he rode it really well for what the wave was.
He did.
I thought, like I said, I really watched that heat and I thought, the guy looks like he's on it. So, you know what I mean? But then the gods were not on his side because that Andres Tombar wave, it literally was the wave of the heat. You know, the wave just sat up perfectly, but he still had to deliver. And that's what, that's what competition is about. You know, I heard Brazinho say it yesterday. It's like, look, all these guys can win the heat. It's two waves. They can all win the heat. So, they've got to select the wave and then they've got to deliver on the wave. And that's what competition should be about. It's you've got to deliver when it counts. I mean, look at the size of this thing.
Is this the wave you're talking about?
Maybe. It looks good size.
Yeah, because this is his second wave.
It just carried on giving.
Yeah, he got a 647 for this.
Little aerial off the top. He's already had 3 turns, 4 turns, an aerial. And, it's still walling. Look at the thing. And then he had this big, late aerial at the end. He had to kind of search for it.
Yeah. No, that was sick.
But
you see what? So, sorry, Benny.
No, I'm just saying the wave just sat just so nicely. It just looked like, I've seen a lot of waves at Matanzas watching the live stream, and some of them don't all look that easy to ride. But in this heat, actually, there was a few giving a little bit more, and the boys, made the most of it.
Yeah, and so in this heat, it was interesting because Andres Tobar, he actually ended up only getting 2 waves.
Yeah.
And they both, where is it? 637, 647. But that Adam Walchol wave, the one that he couldn't quite continue on, got a 457. So if he'd just gotten another turn or 2, it would have been enough. Because as you can see, he was only just behind. Well, the scores are still changing, but he was just behind. He ended up being 0.15 behind Robbie Swift. So if he had just done one more turn on that, and that's the difference between making it to the next heat and not. So I found that was quite a critical part of that heat.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like I say, it's a redemption round. There's big things, but the big thing is that wave from Tombar. I think he scored like an 8.5 or was it something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, 6.5. 6.5.
Yeah.
So, not huge score, but it sat up perfectly, made the most of it. Just looking at the comments, what have we got here? We got Thanos saying, it seems the best scores come from those who can maintain down the line speed and continually grind the thing to infinity. Yes and no. Like, I actually watched a few waves yesterday where, yes, it was smaller at the end and they didn't really score them loads for the end. But when you're judging, it's very difficult not to score someone well when they have a really long ride and they've also had critical turns at the beginning. What they don't want to see is you just mincing down the line and not taking any critical hits. So like Tombar's wave then, if he hadn't have found that big aerial at the end and he hadn't have smacked it, landed in the flats, that wave, even though it was a great wave, he didn't have too many moments of consequence, which could have really, but that last moment definitely gave him the score he needed. So yeah, I thought that was good.
I also just want to mention probably one of the highlights for this whole event for me happened just after this heat, and it actually happened quite often during this event, but is actually this ad because of this talking dog. Did you see this talking dog?
I have seen it.
Yeah, no, you have?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, every time I saw this talking dog, I was just like, this is an ad. This is a pretty cool ad. And that dog's got a pretty good hairstyle on it. And it was talking as well. It was selling gas, apparently. I thought that was
The thing is, what
interesting.
you can't deny the guys. They're doing a good job of the live stream. So any adverts, I know
It's
how much
cool.
live stream costs to run and to get stuff
No.
running perfectly. So I'm all up for ads. I know there's a few people in the comments going, "Oh, another advert," but you're like, if that's what's giving us free live stream, bring them on. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. I'm not making fun of it. I just think it's awesome. Like just to see an ad like that. It's just a talking dog.
The meerkats advert we get in the UK.
Yeah.
We've got Ola saying, does Ollie saying, does the tide have a significant effect down there? I think it does. From again, never sailed there. This is just from me looking at the live stream and listening to the comments and stuff. But I think it does change quite a bit. And also during the day, how the wind changes. Because if you look at the scores towards the end of the day, I feel like it got a bit easier at one point to ride properly, if that makes sense. There was a bit in the middle that looked really difficult, I won't lie, but there was definitely moments in every heat where you needed to be on your game. You needed to be in the place. Again, Brizinho, listening to him, it was interesting because I've noticed the same thing. And even when I've competed as well, you have to be careful because there wasn't many sets. If you were lucky, there's 2 sets in your heat, big sets, maybe 3 if you were very, very lucky, but sometimes 1. And the problem is you had to decide when to ride a wave because 1 set is not enough to get your score. So you have to choose when to go the other wave. But you had to be on your timing because if you rode a smaller wave and then the set came and you left your opponents out there, you could then end up in the, not in a good position because if they got the canvas to work with, they're going to have a bigger advantage than you if you're riding a smaller wave, even if you're riding it more critical. So there's tactics going on and there's all sorts. It's not as simple as just going out there, picking a wave and doing your stuff. It's more like a chess game. You've got to know when you've got a good wave in the bag. You've got to have a feel what your opponents are doing. They say you shouldn't do that. You just concentrate on your own game, which is true. But there's definitely an element in this type of wave sailing, 2 waves to cow, where you've got to keep an eye, and you are chess moves. You are trying to take a wave with priority off someone else, who, so they don't get the score. I saw a little altercation with Alessio Stilrich and Anton Martin. In the end, Alessio Stilrich was the guy who pulled off the wave. Now, I'm not sure if it was his wave and he just backed off or if he should have pushed for it or interference, but it turned out that wave was actually not a bad wave for Antoine Martin. I don't think it was a scoring wave in the end, but it just goes to show you've got to be very confident and almost aggressive in that respect.
Should we move on to Heat 2 here? Because
I think we got to kind of quickly overview because obviously there's guys watching. If we go into every tiny detail, I think it's going to be difficult to follow, but I think we can have, some standout moments for sure. We had more local talent on offer in this one.
Yep, but this was I've just timestamped this. This was Anthony Runes, who ended up coming last in this heat, and he had a few stacks. This was one of them, which I've seemed to have thought was worthy of a share. So I think a pretty
Runes like head high, pretty still.
That's it, yeah.
So just for people listening audio only, coming down the line, really solid, meaty kind of barreling section. He hit it late and it almost chucked him into a kind of forward off the lip. I would suggest that wasn't intentional. I think he got clipped, like it must have hit the back of his board so hard that you kind of go into an involuntary forward, because I've had that happen to me before. I could be wrong. Maybe he went for it. But that was pretty savage, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this was another important moment in this heat because, Arnold Frenet was in the lead. Anthony Runes was second. Tomar Shamgar was in third. And Takuma Sugi was in fourth with 6 minutes to go. Yeah. And Takuma Sugi got a wave here at this point here, which actually brought him into the lead, and eventually he won the heat. So this was probably the most important wave of the heat, especially for Takuma anyway. So
that's what I mean. Good to point out. 5 minutes to go. Sugi was last. And it was a 27-minute heat. So it just goes to show, when you see these points and they're super close, it's definitely not all over till the end. You really have to stay patient and find those waves, because if you, like I said before, if you don't get the canvas to do your work on, it's impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's impossible. So you've got to use your wave knowledge, your spot knowledge, your patience, your chess game. You're working out wherever your opponents are, gambling whether you take the smaller runner or you wait for the set wave. And again, those decisions can change depending on your situation and what waves you've already got and what your opponents have got. So, there's way more going on. It's not as simple as I think some people realize when you're doing a heat. And again, starting the heat with a good wave, totally changes the game. It helps relax you no end. Sometimes can count against you because you think you've got ages, and then you leave a few waves and then nothing happens, and then you start getting a bit stressed, which we saw at Enrico, which is probably going to come up later. But good sailing from Arnaud Frenet. I thought he sailed good as well. Really close.
Definitely. Definitely. So Takuma and Arnaud, first, second in that heat. Tomas Shamgar and Anthony Runes exit the heat and therefore the event. So then we went on to heat 3, and I have a timestamp here at 2:03:21 for a good set that rolled through the lineup.
So this is Ulrich, Rui Nagoshi, Hayata Ishii, and Diego Fabres. This is Diego Fabres, yeah, on the Goya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Hayata Ishii behind.
I tell you what, the Fabres boys look pretty handy. Got good style on them.
Yeah. No, some of these Chile crew have been.
This state of the tide, the wave was not very forgiving at all. Look at this.
No, it's pretty hollow. Yeah.
This was a sick wave from Hayata. I thought he really pushed it really hard, rides so fast.
Yeah, that was sick.
The problem is he couldn't back it up, could he?
No, that score gave him a 5.5, and then his next best score was a 2.93 later on. So that was his issue, and he came third in the heat, and because he couldn't back it up, he exited. So that was probably actually a little bit of a shock. You would have put Hayata as one of the guys to get through this heat. I thought that looked one of the trickier heats. The state of tide, maybe the angle of the wind, but it looked a difficult heat. The scores in that were lower, and I know how good all the riders are, but it looked definitely harder. The sandbar there, or whatever that reef is, it looked like it was churning up the bottom. It really looked like it was dredging. Looked pretty hardcore. I'm just going to go through a few comments while we're going. Yeah.
We got Chris Mark saying windsurfing used to be ultra popular when jumps and transition counted too. Again, depends on the spot, but yeah, transitions obviously don't count now. But usually they would have jumping if the conditions counted for it. But I think they have been looking for a down the line spot like this. Rasmus, controversial or not, who knows? Wave choice skill against surfing skill, choice 1. Poor, he says. So he's saying if you picked the right wave, you went through, and if you were a good surfer and you didn't pick the right wave, you weren't going through. But there's an argument on that side to say that's the skill. You look at normal surfing, WSL, and this stuff. If you don't get the wave, you're not winning the heat. You've got to have. There is obviously an element of luck sometimes, but the top guys, they're always lucky? No. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You notice it's still the same guys getting through. But I would argue having that sort of, not luck in there, but the elements of that does make for interesting results. It does bring drama. It does, move the playing field a little bit, which, again, the top guys always seem to navigate themselves around it. If they're not on a perfect wave, they make it happen. And that's where the skill is. Obviously, if someone's picking every wave, the amazing wave, they probably deserve to go through anyway, because that's a skill in itself. And this is wave sailing. So, half the battle is picking Jesus. That was Rui Nagoshi just getting absolutely drilled in that heat. Yeah, he's a young rider. I think he's like 16 years old or something like this. Yeah, we're going to be seeing him a lot. I think in the future. He's a bit of a nutter when it comes to jumping.
Yeah, this was actually one of the waves I timestamped because of that wipeout, but it was a potential mast snapper here. He was lucky to come out of that unscathed.
I mean, this heat, the wave was sucking up off the bottom, wasn't it? It really looked like it was dredging.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And then the way the way that just pole dived in.
Just for you people who don't, like when you're wave sailing, if you're not in a competition, the smart move there would be to go out the back, because as soon as you try and turn inside on a steep wave like that and you put your rig between you and the wave, it's going to get clipped. He's obviously trying to sail out of it because he's in a competition. But in normal sailing, you wouldn't be probably worried about that as much.
Yeah. There was a slightly controversial moment in this heat. I don't know if you picked it up, but in the end, Alessio Stilrich got the win, Diego Fabra second, and Hayata Ishii and Ryu Noguchi exited. However, at the buzzer, on the buzzer beater at the end, if I just go fast forward a bit here to 2:26, I'm curious for your opinion here, Ben, because hold on, let me just go. Sorry, it's slightly back. Apologies. Bit hard to navigate that timeline. So if we look up here at the timer, you can see there's only 20 seconds left on the clock, and Hayata Ishii, he actually only needs a 3 or just a 3 or just slightly above to get into second place, which he could probably do with his eyes closed normally. And there's 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. But if you look to the right of the screen, Hayata, he comes at the corner of the screen there on a wave. You see that? So he's actually, you see, so he's actually on a wave here. And the question is, everyone switched off. They just thought, oh, well, the question I have is, was he on that wave before?
Well, the thing is, as far as I know, you have to have done a turn or initiate riding for it to count. Okay. So if you initiated the wave, I'm not sure if you're just still on the swell, if it counts.
Yeah.
I don't think it does. I think you have to actually have initiated a turn and shown intention to ride. So just being on the wave, I'm not sure is enough. I could be, I'm stand to be corrected if someone's got a better explanation. But as far as I know, you've got to be doing an actual turn before the buzzer. So if you're just sitting on the swell, I'm not sure that counts. Again, I was watching it actually a few heats yesterday, and people were like, "Oh, this should count," and I was thinking, well, have they actually showed that they're riding that wave, or are they just on the big ball of swell? Then it took 10 seconds for it to wall up before they started riding. And you're like, well, that's not quite as I see it. As I see it, if you started your wave and the hooter goes, okay, that wave counts. But if you haven't started your wave, you're just on a wave, I'm not sure how that works. So, yeah, feel free to let me know in the comments. I would be doing all I could to try and make something happen, get a bit of spray, moving around,
Well, that's it, yeah. And I think, look, Hayata, he probably wasn't aware that he just needed a 3 to get in. He's obviously not aware of the scores. And if he had have known, he might have just done a few wiggles on the swell to make it look like he's initiating some turns. But to me, that was an example of just, if you're looking at your watch and you've still got 1 second to go, just keep going. Don't give up, because you never know. Like in his, all he needed was a 3, which he probably could have got on that wave and he would have been through. That's just how close it all ended up being. So
it's true. It's good to see Alessio go through that heat, because he had a bit of a shocker yesterday. So I was kind of hoping he would sort of deliver. And that heat wasn't an easy heat to deliver in. Like I said, I think conditions and wave looked pretty challenging, I would say. I'm just going to go through a few more comments before I lose them.
Yeah, sure.
Ruby saying, I was afraid that, I guess, Philip Costa would stumble because of the light wind conditions. But he is just from a different planet. Such a great performance. Yeah, we're going to talk about him in a minute. But he looked really good. And he obviously won here before in Chile. And when you say it's light winds, I don't think it's that light. It's not like Cape Verde light. You know, they're fully planing out the back. What I did notice, or maybe not what I kind of observed, is I think the guys that are getting through are taking pretty big sails and are struggling sometimes for power. I saw that interview with Federico, and he said he was like dying for power. But actually, if you can hold the power then on the wave, you're able to get more waves in, you'll be able to position yourself better, but you've got to be able to handle being overpowered in the wave, which is not easy. You know, when you're free sailing, a lot of people take smaller sails because it's easy and it's fun. But when you're competing, you don't have that luxury. There's 3 other guys on the water, and you have got to position yourself accordingly. Everyone's not like, oh, no, you have this wave, I had the last one. It's dog eat dog. You know, it's like, if I'm in position, it's my wave, you know, and the more waves that you can take off your opponents, the less chance you're giving them on the good waves. So if you're able to get around the break, you've got power, you're planing, you can position yourself and you've got the control. If you're tootling around on a small sail because you think you can do more radical turns, yes, but if you're not on the waves, you can't do that. So it's like I say, it's not as simple as free sailing competing, especially with 3 other riders. Asker saying, can the referees rely on replays and change the result? From my understanding in the past, the head judge is there to kind of hold it all together. So he might be looking at replays. If he thinks something's been underscored, he may be passing on comments to other judges and making sure that everyone's in the right scales and stuff like this. So I don't know officially if they're looking at replays. It's pretty hectic with 4 riders out there, and it's unfair if people don't get replays, but there might be certain circumstances, but it's very unlikely that it would go to an appeal and a review and all this sort of stuff. It can do if it's super blatant and there's been something totally missed, which is obvious. But if it's just a judgment call, not usually.
Yeah. I saw a comment there. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, James Hayward saying that wipeout from Sugi before was a bit like his one in Fiji. Sorry, from Anthony Runes, which it was, you know, where you get punted out and you end up doing this involuntary forward. We got Bill Short saying, was it Morgan Nareau who ripped the back of his sail? I actually think it was Robbie Swift.
Yeah,
it was kind of weird. It looked like the whole, it's kind of, I've never seen it before, like the sort of side leech panel had come off. The weird thing was, which has kind of confused me, is before that heat, me and Paul are on this WhatsApp group, and there was talk from Morgan Nareau saying, look, me and Robbie Swift on exactly the same equipment, exactly the same color. We got exactly the same everything. And they were like, well, you need to do something different. And then in the heat, I see this like streamer hanging off the back of his sail. And I was thinking, friggin' hell, he's gone to town on the streamer. That thing's massive. And then I realized actually probably damaged the sail, but he had a pretty nasty wipeout in that one, I think.
Yeah, no, he did. He got pumped a few times, but that was, you're right. I was thinking exact same thing. He had the perfect differentiation from Morgan in the end, didn't he?
Okay, just coming back to what I said before, Bill saying Kai said the judges were looking at replays. And Peter saying they claimed in the stream head judge was constantly looking at replays. Yeah. So, you know, the head judge is the one who's, you know, because otherwise if all the judges are looking at stuff, you miss stuff. So the head judge is kind of there just to make sure nothing's been totally missed or something crazy, you know, within reason. I think that's kind of how you would see that head judge. Just going through a few more comments before we lose more. Rasmus, with Maui and Tenerife, it was being... Maybe that's something I said before, which I'm not quite relating to at the moment. I'll try and work out that. Jobster saying, that's right, Ben, you need to at least do 1 turn, I believe, for the wave to count after the buzzer. So again, it can depend on the judges. If it's just a massive bit of swell and they don't deem it as actually riding the wave, I guess that's definitely up to the head judge. Okay, right, back to the action.
Yeah, cool. So now we're in Heat 4, and this was largely a local affair with Russ Farrow from Maui as the 4th contender. But I believe everyone else was, well, essentially Chile locals.
Yeah.
Although, so this was an interesting heat as well. And I have marked here, well, I've made 1 timestamp here, so I'll just go to that and see what I've done here. So 254, is it 254? I have marked here almost taken out. So something has happened here. Sorry, I can't remember every detail because it did go for a bit. But in the end of this event, this heat, Benjamin Fabres and Vicente Gonzalez ended up being the first and second place. And Felipe Widelas and Russ Farrow, unfortunately, exited. It was a pretty close heat. Oh yeah, this is what happened. So we had a first sailor here went down, and if you actually watch the gear in the water, and then what happens to that gear? It almost takes out this sailor here. You watch it gets stuck up in the wave, and the mast starts flailing about, and it almost takes his head off.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, is it Benjamin Fabres on that yellow Goya sail? I think
I'll be honest. I was hoping you would know because
he's got a really good style. I like his style. Really quick, nippy. We're going to come on to it a bit in a moment, but I saw that with Antoine Martin. I saw it actually with Miguel Chapuis, Bernd Rodiger. It's a very similar style where they're kind of connected to the wave, almost like Cowley Ciardi type, where they're just in the wave and reacting to every moment. And I thought that style looked really good. It wasn't that conducive to long rides because, you're really fitting in the pocket. But personally, I thought it really stood out and looked pretty epic. And that guy, Benjamin Fabres, I thought he stood out as he could cause some upsets. I mean, it already
definitely
around. We haven't seen
definitely
it around yet.
He had a combined wave score of 12.24, which actually was in the upper end for the day actually.
Yeah, so, and I would say these conditions, what these boys had was harder than when the day went on. Personally, just from what I saw. But interesting. Good to see all the local boys, and we have had quite a few. That was the last of the redemption round, was it?
Exactly, and then it went through to the women's.
Yeah, wait a sec. I just want to round this up. So redemption round, getting through to the third round, going against the guys that won from the first rounds. We had Andres Tombar, Robbie Swift, Takuma Sugi, Arnu Frene, Alessio Stilrich, Diego Fabres, Benjamin Fabres, and Vicente Gonzalez. So, a lot of locals getting through that redemption round. And that's so cool to see because, these are the guys, like I said before, they have watched these guys. They have, probably dreamt of going against them. And now they've got them in their backyard. And, getting through to that third round is a big deal. That would have been a big goal for a lot of them. I mean, some of them probably have higher aspirations than that. But I would say getting through to that third round is a big achievement.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's so cool to see. And it certainly introduced me to a lot of new sailor names that I wasn't familiar with. So hopefully they continue their good run.
Imagine we see him coming over to Ozo.
Yeah, well, if they... mixing it here with all the big names probably is inspiring them to get involved in other events, no doubt. Yes,
I'm just looking at the screen. I'm looking at Bernd Rodiger.
Yeah.
Pimp Daddy or something. He's got like some big fur thing he's sitting on, and
he wins. He wins the best dressed.
Yeah,
I just have to. We'll have a quick look at the talking dog again. That was our favorite. That's the mascot for the event.
It reminds me of something about Mary, that dog.
So then we moved on. Are you ready to move on to the heat one
let's
of
go.
the women's redemption? So we have. Well, actually, I'll let you do the talking, and I'll just I'll go through the timestamps as you talk.
Yeah. So redemption round in the women, there was 2 heats. Heat number 1, Sol de Greek, Maria Behrens, Lena Vindup, and Dominika Olsman. And I have to say, Sol de Greek, top performance from her. I mean, I keep saying she's 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. I'm not sure how old she is now. Is she 15 or 14? 15, yeah. 15 years old, and she has been around the world. She was in Fiji last year. She's, you know, spent so much time in Pozo. She is a total all-round sailor, and she is sailing some of the best locations in the world against the top girls. Didn't have it all her own way in her first round in the women, but in this redemption round, put in a superb performance, which I thought deserves definitely a round of applause. And she won this heat by over 2 points. So, you know, and actually the top two girls in this, Maria Behrens as well, she obviously did really well over in Silk, came second in the Silk World Cup. And that was, again, a port tack down the line, no jumping, really suits her. Yes, she can jump, but I think what she loves is riding port tack. And she
Look at this.
Had a good, yeah, this is Sol de Greek on the wave. I mean,
this was a standout move. Yeah, this was an aerial into almost made floater, which was just super cool to see. 15-year-olds, check this out.
Yeah, it's like a logo high wave, churning on the point, bang.
Look at that. It almost made it. That was pretty sick, wasn't it? She was up there for like 2 or 3 seconds just navigating that. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it's not long before we're going to be seeing her pump those things right into the flats. You know, at 15 years old, and she's riding Matanzas from right up behind the rocks coming through. Love to see it. Yeah, definitely a standout. Definitely a standout.
So that was... Oh, yeah, I've got here I have time-stamped a slap down. We always love a wipeout. So let's have a look at that one.
Joe said she's 14. Apparently.
Oh, it's 14. Yeah, okay, apologies.
I get confused because I know she's young, but you know, the years slip away, so I keep forgetting how old she is. I know she's super young. 14.
Yeah.
Wow. Jesus.
Check this out. Look. See that? Let me just rewind that.
So for anyone audio only, this is like a, you know, head to logo high wave, absolutely ripping off the bottom, sucking up, and just delivering a massive snack down. Was that Maria Behrens? So she did well to get back up.
No, that was Dominica Osman.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I'm not surprised. See, that would have been ringing in your ears for a bit of a while, wouldn't it? It's a bit of a...
I'm using the YouTube playback speed here. Let's have get rid of that. Look at this under the lip.
Yeah, just get that blue core. That went down really hard. That looks like the trickiest bit of the wave. You can see where the two waves converge. So one's facing one way, one's facing the other. She actually didn't make it onto that second wave. But that does look like quite a pivotal moment in the wave. If you make it through that section, you know, some of the guys were doing it, and an aerial off that section, then it opens up the whole bottom end of the wave, and that could like unleash a few more points, which was, you know, seemed to be a big one.
Yeah, so respect to Dominica there for copping that one. There's a great wave here from Sol at around the 21-minute mark. Let's have a look. Yeah, this wave here was a great wave.
I wonder if there's like an AI tool that will just sort out all the waves for us one day.
Oh, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? It'll happen, I'm sure.
Gives us a video with them all ready to rock.
They won't even need us, Benny.
Yeah, good point.
This was a good set for the ladies coming through here. And Sol,
she's riding behind the rock. You know, that's
look at this. Look at that.
Yeah, that was nice.
14 years old.
Nice. What did that score? Because that was big. That was an aerial right at the end. I mean, you got 14 years old and hitting an aerial back in. It's quite scary of the talent that's on offer there, you know, and where that's going to go to. Because like I said, it's not that she's sailing Matanzas all the time. That's her local break. This is just one of the spots she's been sailing. So she's getting so much knowledge of waves, and it's really difficult to compete with that if you're other women coming up when you've got, you know, at that age getting all this experience and obviously winning experience as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Sol got a 6.47 for that particular ride. So that was a pretty high scoring wave.
Yeah, decent.
In fact, I think that was actually the highest scoring wave of that heat.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, and I've got one other timestamp here for Maria. I've got here that she has caught. This is Maria Behrens.
Hang on, you've got a bit of advice here for you. Might be useful.
Huh?
Thanos says, by the way, Paul, the letters on the keyboard, J rewinds and L fast forwards 10 seconds for YouTube videos. So they may be useful for you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. It's just the problem is I'm actually going forward and back like 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So it's a bit, but yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
It's useful for me because I didn't know that.
Yeah. The problem is this video, it's 6.5 hours long. So, yeah, it's not easy to navigate. Cool. So that was, well, the end. So basically the end result of that heat, recapping, Sol won with a 12.3. Maria Behrens came second with a 10.06. Lena Bang Wittrup and Dominika Osman both exited the heat and the event. So that was heat 1. So then we moved on to
redemption heat 1 from the women, and then there was a second redemption heat which had Maria Andras in it, Coco Vavo, Sybil Boda, and Camille Curinal. And again, another standout performance in this heat was Maria Andras. She had some absolute banging waves in this one. Some really big setups as well, and took advantage of them. It was a really good display from her. Coco Vavo actually took a bit of a time to get into this, but in the end came through, which is good to see. We know she's got, some good skills. She's doing the full world tour. We've seen her in Fiji, Pozo, obviously comes from Guadeloupe. So she's mixing it with Antoine Martin, Camiju. She knows she's definitely got the people to sail with. Look at that. He's into it already.
Mate, I've just discovered J and L. Thank you so much, Thanos. That's amazing. But we're now moving forward to as you can see here, I have with 329 to 339. I have marked here a good wave from Maria. So this was probably her best wave of this particular heat.
Started to get interested now when these waves started coming through. Like I said, towards the end of the day, I thought they were holding up pretty nicely.
Yeah. Again, this was sorry, Benny, this was a 6.6 ride, this one. So this was a pretty high scoring wave. Maria's on the white duotone and Coco's on
the Severn from Favo, actually, in front
of that's the gun sales.
Oh, yeah, Favo, sorry. It's still Favo, so she's changed sponsors. Yeah, big wave. So Andras, it's like, again, logo high. And she was coming right out into it, getting back. I thought, she rode really well. And her wave selection was really on point. Like, this is that double up bit. You've got to get past that, and then it really closes you down. Again, to get the mega points, you've got to be able to get over that and hit it. And then that opens up the bottom end of the wave. But still, solid performance from Maria Andras, and she'll be in the next round. And I was expecting to see her. I was actually surprised to see her in that redemption round. She had a pretty tough battle in the first one, Alexia Kiefer, and then she had a very big battle with Lisa Vermeister, another one from Guadeloupe. So there's a few women coming out of Guadeloupe at the moment.
Yep. But Maria, she definitely put a stamp on that heat. She won the heat with a 12.5 total score. Coco, Favo 9.7 in second. Sybil Bode. Is it Bode? How do you pronounce the surname? Boda. And Camilla Curianao. Bode, yeah, or whatever. Sorry, those two exited. What's that?
Point Break, Bodie.
Yeah. Bodie exited, unfortunately. So Maria and Coco went through, and that was the end of the redemption round for the women, and then it went back into the next round for the men.
So just to clear it up, so now in the women quarterfinals, they're all set out. So heat 1, which we've not sailed yet, none of these heat we've sailed, but this is how the setup looks. Quarterfinal, heat 1, Justina Shaddy, Maria Morales, and Coco Favo. That's your heat 1 in the quarterfinals. Second quarterfinals, Lena Erpenstein, Sarah Hauser, and Sol de Greek. Nice one there in heat number 2. Then we got heat number 3 set up with Alexia Kiefer, Pauline Katz, and Maria Andras, obviously coming from that redemption round. And then heat 4, the last of the quarterfinals for the women, is Jane Seaman, Lisa Vermeister, and Maria Behrings. They are all what we should be getting today if the wind plays ball, probably starting in a couple of hours' time. So the scene is set in the women. Like Paul said, then we went back to the men's heats, and we went back to the third round in the men's. Is it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, round of 24.
It's different because they did the trials as well. So I guess they went back to round number 8, which is one before the quarterfinals. So it's pretty much the similar type to the women. Once we get the winners and the second places from this round 8, we then set up those quarterfinals, which we can read out at the end of this. So for the men, there was 8 heats in this round 8. They didn't finish.
No, they got up to heat 5.
Yeah, heat 5.
And 3-man heats, and top 2 go through to quarters. So it was pretty hotly contested. The first.
So heat, actually, the loser in this heat is going to finish 17th. Is that correct?
Okay.
Equals 17th.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, so equals 17th. So, like I said, locals getting through. If they lose at this point, because only one loses from each heat, they will finish equal 17th, which is not a bad result. You know, there's people with different aspirations, but 17th at a solid World Cup event is not bad. Yeah,
no, definitely. So here we have. I'm getting into this heat.
Yeah, heat 1 was Kamiju Ban, Andres Tombar, and Takara Ishii. 2 go through, 1 goes out. So really close heat, this one, especially for second place. Kamiju Ban absolutely demolished the heat really in the end. Finished with 13 points. And then the other boys, there was just 0.4 separating them. Andres Tombar, the local fella, and Takara Ishii. And it was actually Tombar again that got through. So really cool to see him in the final 16 riders.
Yeah, he's taking down big names along the way. So that is really cool to see.
This is him, isn't it, on Severn?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they got such a solid wave, that.
Yeah. No, he's experience is showing. I've got here, there is a SmackDown, or Kami Wave and SmackDown 357. So let's have a look at that and see what that's about. So at this stage in the game, Andreas Tobar was winning the heat with a one wave score of 6. So it was anyone's game up until this point.
Yeah, he was very selective, which I thought was quite cool. You know, he didn't go off on anything. He really was very selective.
And this wave ends with a SmackDown.
Yeah, Kamiju, man.
Yeah,
it's all tangled up in that one. I mean, the crazy thing is, have you seen how high Kamiju Ban's boom is? It's kind of insanely high. Like,
oh really? I didn't notice it.
I have a very low boom, you know, and I was actually looking at quite a lot of the local riders there ride with the low boom. You know, obviously a few of the pros ride with the low boom, but I mean, Kami, look how high that thing is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's almost like eye high.
It's head high. Yeah.
You know, you don't usually see that.
What's the thinking there, Ben?
Well, I personally, I mean, I'm not criticizing him. Right, everyone has their own personal styles, but for me, it's very difficult to get downforce into the board. So it depends on what style of board you've got. I would guess his board is quite loose and rocketed up, you know, because it's very hard to get the downforce because the boom's above you. When you have a lower boom, you can drive more. Whereas he's very flicky in his style, and it works really well. You don't have much downforce, so you get a lot of lift, which is why he does massive aerials, and he's able to get his board light up on the lip as well, you know. But again, it's personal. Everyone's got their own personal styles, but it's just interesting. It's super high. Like, you know, you can see it. It's that obvious. There are a couple of guys who have a low boom, which I think was Miguel Chapuis. I think I noticed quite a low boom. Like I said, a lot of the local boys kind of ride with a low boom. You have a bit more control.
It was interesting because as he's bottom turning, let's see if I can find it here. Let's see if I can stop it at a certain point. If you look at it there, it's a bit hard to see, but the boom almost like goes above his head. You know, when he's bending his knees.
When he rides like upright and he has to do a turn, it's like he's not driving; he's just hanging underneath it, which again has probably got its own advantages for popping airs because you're coming up from here. Which I just find it very interesting. He's been riding like that for a while, but I almost feel like his boom's got even higher.
Look how high that is.
Very high clue as well. Yeah, it's
interesting.
It's mad. Doesn't seem to be,
That's it's a good pickup, Benny. Good pickup. So let me just get back to normal playing speed again and have a look at my notes here. So that was SmackDown number 1. This was a heat full of SmackDowns, and I will go to another SmackDown for all your entertainment. Where are we? We got it here. So Takara, he was struggling a little bit to not get smacked down. He was obviously very close to coming into second place.
The Japanese boys go for it. There's no holding back them boys. They ride really fast. Him and Hayata, they're obviously brothers, but they've got a very similar fast style and really don't hold back. But so when it goes wrong, it goes wrong because they're not backing off.
It's about to go wrong, so keep an eye here.
Yeah, so like overhead, high logo, high bang, just comes straight down over the nose. You see those inside ones were just sucking up, like really was dredging. Definitely certain states of tide looked harder, and there were certain places of the beach. This is kind of the bit of the beach where it kind of goes into 2 as well.
Whoops.
Yeah, he's late, wasn't he? And then just got smacked. The wave looked really good. If he could have come through that, would have made a difference. But no, in the end, Kamiju Ban won it, and Andros Tombar goes through into the quarterfinals. So really cool to see that. It's interestingly, with that result, Tombar finishing second means he goes into the Jules Denel, Morgan Nareau, Alex Vargas heat, and Camille winning it goes into the Marsilio Brown, Federico Mauricio, and Miguel Chapuis. So, sometimes, I'm not saying one's an easier heat or not, because at this level it doesn't really matter. But with having Brown in your heat, I don't know if I'd want that.
That was Takara SmackDown number 2.
Yeah, he had a few, didn't he?
Pretty similar to the first one.
Yeah, he goes super late. A lot of time for that.
Yeah, and there was also Thanos. Thank you again, man. I'm using this J and the L for fast forwarding. This is very handy. There was a point in the heat where Takara was having a comeback. So at this point, what happened? Yeah, so with this wave, Takara actually went into second place, but then Andres Tobar finally got another wave. But this was a moment in the heat where Takara went up a place. So that was kind of exciting. But unfortunately, in the end, got overtaken and he exited the event.
Yeah, he's out. So we've lost Takara Ishii, but we do have a local in the next round, like I said, which is cool to see.
Yep.
Next heat, we got one of the big guns in this one, Marsilio Brown, and he was going against the 2 local riders, Alex Vargas, who showed some really good skills in the earlier rounds, and then Arnaud Frene. Again, he's been showing some good skills, but Brown absolutely took this heat apart. He really did. And I wasn't sure, how he would be sailing here in Matanzas. It looked tricky. I thought, he could have some problems from the locals, but as I've listened now and I realized he's sailed this spot a lot, he's obviously one of the most, or if not the most talented windsurf wave sailor in the world. And he looks at home here. He really looks like he is taking it on. He's picking good waves. He's just doing everything right. And it's hard to kind of count him out for maybe on the podium here, if not winning it. You know, he really does look in the zone. But as you know, you just need one bad heat, and it's all over. It goes really quick. You know.
This was one of Brau's great waves.
He had quite a few. I think he might have even scored the biggest wave score of the day. I'd have to check that. But, you know, late hits, coming up vertical. There we go. Big late aerial lands, and then somehow gets back up and keeps the speed. And then he's got that double up bit now, which he stays high and flicks off the top. That's how you've got to ride it. You know, that's what I've noticed from watching the live stream, is that's the way to ride that section. When it rolls into that second wave, you got to stay high and just pop off the top. And sometimes then you can get off down the line. Yeah.
And there was a point in the heat from memory where Alex Vargas was in third place and at risk of elimination. And we had another set wave around here.
Was this the one with the
what's that?
No, I thought it was the Vargas wave with the tacker, because he really wanted that tacker when he did it. It was pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember. We're about to find out. But as you can see, Alex Vargas sitting in third place and definitely needed to ramp things up. Marsilio Brown started with, well, this was not his first wave, but he started this particular set with a great score again. So this was a notable part of the heat. You know, Marsilio showing everyone how it should be done out there.
Yeah.
And out the back, Alex Vargas is racking up good points as well. Yeah, we actually got worked in the end. But this was, I think, this was important wave for Alex Vargas. So this was what got him into second place. So
look at that. That is such a sick little combo turn, and then a little air off the end. And did he just put the tacker in at the end? But yeah, I love that little bit from Vargas in the middle. You just see the way the board and equipment was working and just how he used it. I thought that looked super slick.
That was a sick turn.
Wow. Just goes straight back into it, round, and then comes back again. I thought that was cool.
Let's have a look at that once more.
Yeah, he just rips it back. I mean, it's easy to get caught as well with the whitewater when you do something like that. Was that not the one where you had the tacker on the end? Yeah.
I'm not sure
it
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm saying he just finished it off again, not for massive section, but just wanted it so much. And you can see guys like that, you know, they're competing. That's the difference. It's having that extra bit and doing it when it counts. Bill Short saying, yeah, Brau got an 8.4 in this heat, but Costa later on got an 8.7, which was the score of the day. Yeah, Costa looked super on it. You know, they did reward him pretty highly for his goiters and stuff like that. But, you know, for me, the wave that Brasilio got in this was pretty insane.
Well, we're about to see the 8.4 because this is the wave coming up. Let me just hear it. Hold on. Fast forward. Oh, here it is. So this is the 8.4, which...
This was pretty slick, I have to say. This looked like it had everything.
That was a 6-size wave too.
And out the back, logo plus, even mast high on that bottom of that. You know, two big sort of wraps, and then setting up for this bit as it starts to wall. Comes round under, you know, and it's sitting up from him as well. Look at that thing. And then he gets that nasty section here, but it's in one. So he hits that, airs down it, and another air comes through. There's the change I see. Sorry, it's like this bit. And then straight lines a bit to get past that section, and then pumps out huge aerial at the end.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah, Alex Vargas, though, he's a good sailor, isn't he? It's going to be interesting to see how far he goes.
Again, he got a super low boom. Again, I always hear guys saying, high boom, low boom riders, but it is true. It's interesting to see certain styles and try and, you know, I'm definitely a low boom type of rider. So that's why it's always interesting when I see Camille riding. I'm thinking, bloody hell. But, you know, he makes it happen so well that maybe there's something in it. I'd be interested to know what you boys at home, girls at home, what you're riding.
So in that heat, Marsilio Brown won with a heat total of 15.43. Alex Vargas second, 11.84. And Arnaud Frenay, who had been sailing fantastic up until that point, he exited with a 10.16. And that was heat 2 of that particular round. We've got a few guests.
Say, the next 2 heats were crazy close. Like, crazy close. Like, you look at heat number 3, Morgan Nareau, Federico Mauricio, and Robbie Swift. There was literally like half a point separating them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's crazy. Morgan was just picking good waves, you know, obviously riding well. And Federico had a real battle with Robbie Swift, just 0.3 separating those 2 riders at the end. And he could have gone either way at one point, but Federico, big result for him against Robbie Swift. That.
Shall we just to tell? We've got Lucas and Finn in the wings down here. Shall we just quickly finish the heats first, Ben, and then bring them in? Or
I think that would be better. Finish the heats.
If you, we'll just be a few more minutes, boys. If you just want to hang there, we will get to you. So in this heat, where are we? Oh yeah, so Federico continued his run through the event, and I've made quite a few timestamps in this particular one. Let's have a quick go through here. Apologies. Yeah, this one. So this wave here from Federico was camera was.
He opened up a really decent wave. I think he scored like 6.5 or something. I can't remember actually, but it was pretty good way to open the heat. But then it took a while. 6.6. He took a while to find another one. You know, it was almost like kind of a relaxing situation for him because he opened up, big heat, big wave, knew that was it, and now he just needed one more. But then that one more didn't come. And I could feel the tension was starting to build because, you know, after you get that opening wave and it's all gone well, you kind of relax and you think, okay, I'm in the zone. But then when another one doesn't come for 10, 15 minutes, you're like, okay, it's not over yet. I've got to deliver here. So now I can't take a set wave. I've got to find something else that's going to deliver. And that's when the stress comes in. But I have to say, Federico's really impressed me. The last couple of competitions, I think he's definitely come of age. You know, he's been grafting pretty hard. And it's good to see him, you know, finally breaking through, having those big heats. You know, did he take down Brasinho in Fiji? Did he take down, you know, he took down a few boys in Pozo. Peru, he had a proper heater. And then now in Chile, he's backing it up. It's not all talk. It's not all just one event here. He's actually doing it event after an event. So how long before we see him right up there on a 5-star? Let's see. Who knows? This could be it.
To be fair to Brasinho and Fiji, I think he took himself down in that particular one, didn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
No, but I know what you mean. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Yeah. No, Federico. Well, the thing with Federico is he puts pressure on people because they know they're going to have to sail well to beat him. And I think that that's part of his skill as well, is that he is a danger. And this particular heat I found was probably one of the more interesting ones because, you know, Morgan Nareau, multiple Aloha Classic winner. Robbie Swift is an absolute legend. I don't even know what he's won, but I'm sure he's won a few events. So there's a few legends in this one. And Robbie Swift ended up exiting this particular heat. So this was a big win for Federico and probably disappointment, I imagine, for Robbie Swift. I've got a few timestamps here at 53.38 here. This was one of Robbie Swift's waves where he went down, and I'm sure, so that was probably a fairly pivotal part of the heat as well because wasn't able to get a good heat score. And I think from that wave that actually damaged his sail. And we'll see a bit later on as I fast forward here at some point. Hold on a second. Apologies here. I'm doing my best.
I mean, the thing is, he carried on sailing with it, didn't it? It was quite a chunk of sail, like flapping around.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I wonder, I know it was only a fairly minor part of the sail, but it still probably doesn't help with the overall control of the sail. But as you can see there's a bit of a flap hanging off the bottom part of that leech there. So He's just turned a 5 meter sail into a 4.9. Well, I don't know if it's a 5 meter, but whatever, something along those lines. But yeah,
it would definitely have been. I mean, actually, it's a very strange one, isn't it? The way it looks. I'm not quite sure what exactly happened.
Yeah.
Amazing that it keeps together.
But it was, as you said, it was very convenient for the judges because Morgan and Robbie had exactly the same sail. So at least it made it easy to differentiate the two.
No, too right. But it was like when it's that close, I know those heats can go either way. You know, it's 0.3 in it. There's nothing in it really.
Well,
so super close between Federico and Robbie, but Federico obviously getting the nod.
That actually leads me to this point as well. I'm curious for your opinion, Ben, and everyone listening as well. But in the end, I'll just pause it here for a sec. So in the end, Morgan came first, 12.3. Federico came second with 11.87. Robbie Swift came third with 11.57. So 0.3 in it, as you said. But this last wave was, you could almost call it slightly controversial, but I thought it was, but maybe not. So there's a set wave here, and Federico is on one and Swift is on the other. And Federico gets a 4.7s. Oh, actually, hold on. Yeah, he gets a 4.77 for this, and Robbie gets a 5.1. If Robbie had a 5.4, he would have overtaken Federico. But I'm just curious what you think of this particular set. Where is it? It's coming up, 5.10. So this one here, got Swift on the front here. So this is scored fairly similarly, but I was just wondering if Robbie was potentially could have squeezed a few. Yeah, exactly. So that was a good hit. And Federico's behind him. Federico did a couple of good turns. Another like a tweaked aerial, which was sick.
Yeah.
Didn't see many of those during the day.
Wow. What did this score?
So this scored a 5.1.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and look, he finishes it off here.
I don't know if the judges, maybe it's out of the judging area right down there, because that is a long way down.
Yeah. And again,
I think you've got a case. If looking at what I've seen today, I thought that first hit, this one, wow. Like right up next to the rock, solid size on it, super vert, comes right up, bang. That was nice. I like that. And then, turns into it. That was in front of the rock, little sort of hop down. Now it's just trying to get through to that next section. And then airs off that little, nice there as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, I know it's these things happen. I'm not sort of saying the score is wrong, but this was.
Can I just ask you? So the wave behind was Federico, actually, right?
Exactly.
It's hard to judge when you've got two people on a wave, and that's.
I know, and this is why I'm saying this is a slightly controversial point, because I looked at both. If you now look at Fetty's wave behind, now that you've seen Swifty's,
it's sick.
Fetty does a good, solid first turn. Arguably, the wave is not quite as good as Swifty's. Well, it's not as good. And then, so Fetty's doing turns.
3 turns from Federico.
Yeah, Fetty does an air here, which is cool, but.
I'm going for Swift on that. What was the score differences?
Well, basically, Fetty got a 4.77 for that, and Swifty got a 5.1. So I'm just saying that if Swifty he actually needed a 5.4, and he would have got second place, but he missed out by 0.3. I mean, look, it's done and dusted, but I just thought that was a critical moment. I thought, okay, that could have gone either way at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously can look at it on the video. It's much easier. We've got the drone shot, whatever. But looking at that, if we just look at it objectively, no bias, no nothing, I think Swift had a pretty sick ride there. That especially those two big hits. The one big hit at the beginning, and then the air as well with a bit of tweak. And then if you put in the length of the ride plus the other stuff, going on what we've seen, you could easily put that in 5.5+ range. But I would say. I mean,
anyway,
nothing to take away from Federico. I thought he sailed really good as well. But that, maybe,
definitely,
maybe.
Look, it's
Bruno in the comments says Robbie was really underscored, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah. So maybe I wasn't the only one who thought. But look, they all sailed well, and at the end of the day, I think it was.
It's too low. Rasmus says a 5.1 is too low. Made many different moves. Variety should matter. Peter says, to be fair, Robbie's wave was not that great. That's what I'm saying. Different people have got different opinions. Again, the judges are watching from another spot as well. There was bits of Robbie's wave, which was, not much happening. But if you actually look at the big moments in it, they were pretty big moments. So that's what I'm kind of really judging off. And then the length of the wave and the other bits kind of add to this overall impression, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad wave of Robbie's. Okay, it wasn't as good as some of the other ones, but it was still a logo high.
Wow.
Yeah, so anyway, look, it's
good.
I think, yeah, it was just something I noticed. But look, Fetty definitely deserves to be there. Robbie, I'm sure, is disappointed, and it was very, very close in the end. So that is how it goes in competition sometimes. Next heat.
A couple people asking about Swifty's sail. Is that a normal way to break a sail? I haven't really seen it get torn like that before. It is quite interesting. But Billy kind of has said what I was kind of thinking. He says, could have clipped to rock when the rig went down. It's the tabling above the clue cringe. Yeah, it's like this little bit of flat, but interesting. I've never really seen that happen before. But yeah, next heat on the water. We've got Jules Denel. We've got Miguel Chapuis and Takuma Sugi.
Yeah, this was a really close heat. It was only 0.67 separated first from last or third in this heat. So this was a pretty tightly contested heat. I actually didn't end up, this is where I got to today as far as time stamping. So we're now on our own here as far as
it was super close heat, like you say, 0.7 separating Takuma Sugi from Jules Denel and Miguel Chapuis in the middle. In the end, it was Takuma Sugi that didn't go through. He had some opportunities, and it felt like they were catching lots of waves. This part of the day seemed better for catching waves, but it was trying to find the difference makers. And Jules Denel, I thought, stood out. I thought he had moments that really stood out. And I think Miguel Chapuis as well. I thought he's looked really good at all competition. I've seen some of the warm-up videos, seen him in his heat so far, and I think his style and the way he's riding the wave looks like it could do him well. He's also got goiter in there. He's also got, some other maneuvers, which I think add to it as well. Jules Denel, very solid in his wave riding style, good selection, heavy hits, really solid riding, which again, I think he could be dangerous. But yeah, Miguel Chapuis, good to see him on the new sponsors and, opening up in his first competition with them, and throwing it down. He's already in the top 16, which is already solid, and maybe he's going to go further.
Yeah.
And Jules Denel, new sponsors as well. Gastro Taboo now. So interesting, very interesting.
Takuma Sugi was winning the heat up with 16 or 17 minutes to go, but ended up becoming third and exiting the competition. So unfortunate for him, but it was fiercely contested. And
there was a lot happening. It's a 27-minute heat, so it's hard to judge a heat halfway through. You really got to start judging that heat towards the end, because the rest is just kind of set up. All you want to be doing in that first bit is getting one big scoring. Once you've got one big scoring, all bets are off, because then you only need one more wave, and that can change the whole heat. But if you're getting towards the end of the heat and you haven't had a decent score yet, then it starts to get a bit scary, because you should have already had a set wave as you're getting down into that last 10 minutes, 8 minutes. If you haven't already got your set wave in and you're waiting for another big move, you're struggling a little bit.
Yeah. Well, good hits there from Jules. Yeah, so that was. I'll go towards the end and see if there's any.
Midway through, I think Jules got a 6.5. Had a really solid wave in that middle bit, but I think it's quite hard to find. I know how it is when it's riding, but he
apologies
really
for
had
that.
a solid, long, critical wave.
Oh, that was a critical hit there.
He was keeping super busy. That was Miguel Chapuis, like just moving around quite a lot, which was cool. Goiter, Chapuis nearly got that, and then came off at the end. But yeah, keep your eye on him. I think we'll finish off because, like I said, we only got one more heat to go. Then we'll bring the boys in, get some chat from inside what's happening over there. Obviously Finn Mel and Lucas Meldrum coming through trying to come through the trials into the main event. In the end, they both made the final but didn't make it. But we've got one more heat to go through. Then we'll bring those boys in and have a quick chat. So last heat of the day had the biggest score of the day. Philip Costa, 16.37. Antoine Martin, 13.33. And Alessio Stilrich missing out on 11.34. You know what I mean? So difficult heat for Stilrich, that one, with two of the higher scores of the day. I think 13.33 would have put him to win most of the heats, not all of them, but he would have most of the heats with a 13.33. But Costa, 16.37. Got a 7.67 as his opening wave, and then an 8.70 as his fourth wave. Antoine Martin kicked off this heat like a man possessed. I felt sorry for Alessio at one point because Costa got a 7.67 to kick off. Then Antoine Martin, in the space of like 2 minutes, got a 6.6 and a 6.3, which in any other heat would have been right up there anyway. He did that in the first 2 minutes of the heat. It's crazy. I don't even know how he got back out there to get the second 6. I thought they got it wrong, actually, the judges. I thought we were looking at Miguel from the other heat or something, but it was Antoine Martin. It was pretty impressive.
Unfortunately for Alessio, he probably had two of the worst competitors you're going to want in your heat.
Yeah, 100%.
So Martin, so he definitely had his work cut out for him.
Although
he had a few moments.
I would say I'm not sure Alessio had his best heat either. Alessio's got the skills, and he can definitely get better scores. And maybe he just wasn't quite on it. Like sometimes you're just not quite on it. And he had moments of goodness, no doubt about it. But I know how well that guy can sail, and definitely. I think he'll be thinking, I could have. He just didn't quite look like he was finding the moments right. You could see a bit of frustration. But one man who was finding the moments was definitely Costa. He was, and it looked a little bit under, but he was just making it happen. Like his goiter off that mid-face wave, he looked super underpowered, and he just kind of pumped it out.
He seems to get a lot of height, doesn't he? He just somehow finds it. I'll see if I can find his wave. He's the high scoring wave.
Most telling thing about Costa's heat was he was discarding, a 6-point wave. There's not many people who discard in a 6-point wave. A 6-point wave would have been Alessio's biggest scoring wave. It's that type of deal. It definitely looked like it got a bit easier to score towards the end of the day, even though it went lighter. The wave looked like it was setting up better. But I think we should bring the boys in because they got some knowledge from the spot, and I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, that was the goiter from Costa towards the end. But let's bring the boys in, and then we'll get a chat with them because I think they've got more interesting stuff to tell us.
Bring them in. Bring the boys in.
Bring them in. Where are they?
Where are they? There they are. Hello, Lucas, Finn. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. How's it going?
How are you doing?
Well, mate.
Have you got over the disappointment yet?
Think so, just about. Yeah, I think today is probably the day where we realise that pretty happy with that result. But yeah, it definitely stung yesterday, and yeah.
Okay, so for people who don't know, obviously we've got Lucas Meldrum, the British wave champion last year. Finn Mellon, obviously been Brandon Bay local doing the British comps. I think you've been right up there in Tyree before, had some good results.
Also Irish champion at the moment.
Yeah, Irish champion, exactly. So these boys know how to sail. I just want to get your thoughts on this, because in an ideal world, I feel like the Chile setup as you had it with the trials leading into the main event was perfect. It felt like two competitions in one. So although, you boys made the final, but you didn't make the main event, there's still some sort of stuff to go back to your sponsors with, and you have some sort of feeling that you've had a proper competition. It kind of just extended the fleet.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like, as you said, didn't make the contest, but still, I think I sailed 4 heats and you sailed 5.
I sailed 5, yeah. So I got my money's worth of.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's what you want. You go all the way to Chile, and I have been following your vlogs, Lucas, and seeing what you've been up to. So I can already tell it's a success, because you're like, I've been to Chile, I've scored some epic sailing, and then you get the competition, and you get, like you say, 5 heats. That's probably better than being in the main event and getting 1 heat against Brown, or or something like this, and everyone going, "Yeah, well done, boys." You get a sense of competing.
Yeah, and it's good, as you said, just on you can have 1 heat in the main contest or the 5 heats on the stream. It's, for all the people at home, it was quite cool getting a lot of support from home, everyone watching along, screaming at their TVs.
Yeah. No, I again, me being a spectator of this event, I thought it was super cool. Obviously, it's not easy to do that in every venue, because obviously we don't know what conditions we're going to get. But I really hope, if we are going to, places like this where we've got some consistent conditions, it's just an amazing format. You really get to see you guys sailing, and again, before the main event. So let's say you make the main event, you've already got this picture of what we're expecting from you, and you've had some experience. You probably better than, like I say, being just in the first round in the main fleet. You come in with you've seen the guys that actually qualified. They came in quite pumped up,
I was going to say, I think it really helps, actually, even if it's on the same day as well. Like the 2 guys that went through, Thomas sailed quite a good heat, didn't get through, but Vicente, like, he was making some heats, and I think that was a lot down to having a full on warm up before the main bracket.
And you kind of get your heat jitters out of the way. The first heat, the nerves. You've kind of done that already. So if you were in the first main event heat, you'd be pretty nervous, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking that, Finn. I was thinking, you turn up at a big World Cup event and just get pumped by Brasinho and Antoine Martin in the first heat, and just leave with a tail between your legs, and you just think, "What? I just traveled halfway around the world just to get annihilated." So I think it's super cool to watch. I really enjoyed the first heats. It was cool. It was relatable as well for people like myself. I'm certainly not a world-class sailor, so I look at all the sailors there and think, I could give it a crack. It was good.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's a full event within the event. And also, I think for the locals, if this was, imagine this is your home break, it's cool to have the locals who are often the best sailors at that spot, get the chance, because otherwise it might just be, say at a normal event, it might just be 2 of the best locals who just get it by name, whereas there might be the locals who absolutely perform on that day and don't get the spot because of that. Whereas this way, it gives them the chance to shine at their local event, which is pretty cool. And we have noticed that here, the locals are so talented. And also the wave knowledge is amazing here, which is a big thing, I think, at Matanzas.
We were saying, like,
I was going to ask you, what is it like to sail Matanzas? Because obviously we're here. I've never been. I'm looking at the screen and I'm thinking, it looks tricky. When it looks tricky on the screen, I know it's bloody hard when you're sailing, because even when you're on the screen, you're like, bloody hell, he's got to make that section. If he does, and I can imagine sailing. What do you set up? Have you got, like, is it different every wave? Is the tide make a different? There's a lot going on, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It seems it changes on the high tide, on the low tide, the swell direction. Like the first week we had, the swell was very straight into the bay, and it was like a full, just scary closeout. It was like a 2-hit closeout, and it was just full down the line speed. Whereas then for the event, we've been quite lucky. It's had, I think it's south from the swell, and you can see it's peeling out behind the rocks and then coming to the beach. Which for the first day of the trials, we were like, oh, this is a completely different beach to what I've been saying.
We kind of had to like, well, for me anyway, I was like in my heat trying to figure out like where to be in the spot, because I was like, this is not anything to do with what we had in the practice.
Yeah.
So that was a bit, that put me off a bit, and obviously the locals know it a lot more. And I was talking to, I can't remember who it was, one of the top guys, saying kind of comparable to Keeper in the way that it's kind of unpredictable, and you just need to sail it 1,000 times to know all the little bits of different tides and swells and everything like that. So it's definitely a lot harder than, for instance, like Topocama.
Yeah, that's
which is a lot more of a predictable wave. I
was going to ask you though, how could you relate it to somewhere else you sailed in the world in terms of power, in terms of hard to read? What is there anywhere in particular you relate it to? Because it looks pretty heavy sometimes, like really dredgy.
Really heavy.
Yeah, I would say the first day when it was just that first week when it was just straight closeout, or you see that inside section, like the final air section of the heat. To me, that reminds me of Scarborough.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. When I saw some of them beach, I was thinking I could just imagine that heavy inside section, which when you see it on video, you're like, it's all right. But when you're there looking up at it, you're thinking, oh my God, if I don't
it's sandy as well. And like, yes, just as in that it's a proper quality wave. I surfed yesterday morning just before the event. Just literally before it got windy. And it was fully barreling down the point. Like I got a good barrel on the sandbar. I was completely surprised. And I think any wave you're windsurfing that you can find a surfing barrel is, you're in a proper wave.
That's nice.
Yeah. Now you guys were a little bit unlucky as well, because I thought there was a really good chance you were going to make it into the main event, but obviously you did need a little bit of luck and good fortune to get through your heats. But you guys did really well. Well done. Yeah.
It's funny. We actually hadn't thought of the idea of both of us going through at all. Like from day one coming up to the trials, we just thought, okay, there's a lot of really tricky people here. Let's give it a go. We hadn't ever even thought it could be 1 and 2. And then I didn't think I got through the semis. And then Lucas told me, we're on. And it was like pretty much, because it took about 10 minutes to get out back. Okay. So it almost felt like it was back to back to back. There wasn't a 20-minute heat break for us.
Yeah.
Like, although there was, but half of that was just getting into position for the up to point.
What size gear?
I was on my big board, 88, which is a big board for me, and a 5.0.
Yeah, I was on 4.5 and an 80 litre basically, which again, big board. I think we both said, after we had our first sessions here, I think next time we'd probably bring slightly different boards.
What would you bring?
Probably something in between, like a medium board that's a little bit more, because the wave's so sucky and hollow, you kind of want something that's a little bit more wavy to fit in these waves.
Yeah, it does look like that. I was watching some of the local boys, and you could see some of the boards they're using look like they fit super nice.
Equipment plays a big part.
Yeah,
there's a lot of custom boards floating around here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think something that can like really fit in that pocket, because when it bottoms out, it's a real cuppy tight wave.
Yeah,
it's hard to fit the big board in there, and that's why you've seen quite all those crashes of people going down the line. No one's just catapulting because it doesn't fit in the shape.
Yeah,
it's tricky though, isn't it? You need a floaty board to get through the light winds, but then you also don't want it too big to get pummeled in the barrel.
What you say is interesting, because when just watching the live stream, I can see certain riders' boards seem to be working super well in that particular wave. Like they're able to just put the rail in and quickly, rip it around, whereas the bigger stuff, which is a bit more flatter maybe, is not having the same effect. They look like they've got to work a bit more. Let's go back to that final. Finn, any regrets looking back? Because I bet you looking back, you're going, oh shit, I didn't realize I was so close.
Yeah, literally, I in my head I had a full-on shocker. So like when I came out of the water, I was like, just wasn't my heat. I was miles off. And then I looked at the scores after, and I was like, shit, I was So, like, I think, just one little down the line aerial punt, nothing special, just a forced aerial. I think I could have made it. It was like a 2.3 or something.
Yeah, you literally needed, like, what did you need? I think you needed a 3.28.
Yeah, I could get that if I knew I needed that. I think I could get that in my sleep.
Yeah. It begs the question, like in surfing, WSL sort of time, what you need. People are telling you, and it's so much easier then because you're like, okay, obviously you don't know if someone's going to upgrade their score, but at least it keeps your brain in the game, because I've been in your situation before. That's why I know it. And you get in and you're like, oh, I totally messed it up. And then someone's like, you only needed this. And you're like, what? You're joking. Because it looked like you were pushing super hard. You had a couple of moments where I liked it, don't get me wrong, but you could see if you'd just backed off a little bit, that was probably it. But you don't know at the time. It's such a difficult game, isn't it?
It's actually interesting with the live heats now. The guys that got like Apple Watch or smart watches can have the scores on their watch, which we were thinking, like, I don't know if that'd be a good thing or a bad thing,
Yeah.
I mean, in those situations, it'd be quite nice to have it, but I don't know. I'm a bit torn on that one.
It's very true, actually, because if someone says, okay, I need a 3, and let's say this situation happened, because it could, let's say for you, Finn, you need a 3.2, you're like, okay, I'm going to go easy, which is never easy to go easy. It's hard. So you go easy, you get your 3.2, but then the guy behind you on the wave ups his score, and you're like, so I can see how it could be a bit of a disaster. But again, that's the nature of it.
I think one thing it would have changed there is in the last minute, the last 2-3 minutes, there didn't seem like there was a single wave coming through. It was like there was the inside small ones, and it was so tricky to find. I was like, set, just because I think that's what had been scoring, was the better waves were really scoring, and I was just like, come on, just let there be a set, and it just nothing was coming. So there, I think, in the sense of seeing that you needed a smaller score, you could have just gone on a more medium wave, and that would probably get that score.
If I remember rightly in that heat, didn't Tom R get a wave right in the death, which I know you're not going to want to hear that, Lucas, but that's what I'm pretty sure.
Got a 4.8. He got a 4.8 in the end.
I think it was the last wave of the heat.
I think I might have let that one go under me as well.
Yeah, those are the ones, aren't they?
You should have had it. Yeah. Oh, well.
No, but I mean, I think similar to Finn, I felt like when I came in, I felt like I probably didn't get it. Not that I had like a total shocker, but I think the first wave I crashed the air.
Yeah. That
probably would have solidified a good score. And then I think you just saw on the screens there, like, there was that closeout that if I had time to get up and under it again, like, I just didn't finish the waves strongly enough. And I kind of felt that as well. And like staying with Victor here, we've been amazing to stay with him, and he offers, a lot of wisdom with his years of competition. And I think, as he was saying, if you don't like leave a really good impression for the judges, it's just like going to be, up to luck of the draw of who gets through. Like, you really need to show, show something really good.
I've said it so many times on the stream, but because I always remember that Kelly Slater quote, and I just think it's so brilliant because it's so true, and it's hard to understand it, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, and if you leave it up to the judges, you're going to get screwed. So you have to smash it. If you know it's close, you have to expect you're going to lose. Because as soon as you think, oh, I could have just squeaked it, and you get upset, it don't work. You've got to smash it. You smash it, then there's no problems. And I saw it with a few of the guys, actually. There was a couple close ones, and they're always difficult. But some of the guys, like, I think it was it Arnaud or something like this? He smashed one heat, like big wave, and totally changed the game. But yeah, but fair play. Your sort of disappointment is Tom Ayres, like, moment of glory. So there's always, that's the thing with competition. There's always obviously people who are feeling different emotions. But there's winners and losers all the way, and you even making the final, I thought was a really good thing anyway, and a great experience for you boys, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, also we were watching the two guys that got through and put in good performances, so it kind of made us feel good in the sense that, you know, that could have easily been us, and we could have, you know, been right in there with the top boys. So yeah, it's just another day it would have gone differently, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's also just like, you know, some heats go your way, some don't, in the sense that I think like the heats earlier, I didn't even have to blink or think about getting the set wave. I was just in the right place, right time. Yeah. They kind of came to me, and I felt the heats earlier, I didn't catch many waves. Yeah. Just I was on the right ones, so didn't have to catch many. Whereas the final just felt the opposite, and I think that kind of threw that out the window. Yeah. And, you know, you could have the final where everything comes to you, or where nothing comes to you. So that's something.
It looks from where I was sitting. Was it true that it is actually a little bit hard to read the swells out the back, because it's a bit of a mixture of swell and a bit of chop coming through, or is it pretty defined?
It's so difficult.
Yeah,
you can see on the only thing that I can tell when a set is coming is, see this mountain, this rock here, the island out back. Yeah. When one of the bigger set waves comes, it washes up on the mountain. You can see this, so you can kind of see on this side here, that right side, you can see the swell bend around and wedge up on the mountain. Mm-hmm. And then like in the earlier heats, that's where I've been sitting and just then picking them off from there. Yep. But then the ones that come more straight to the beach, you can't see anything. And then the smaller medium ones, you can't see anything. So in that sense, that heat, it was just like, where is everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it looks tricky. Oh, give me your thoughts on who's looking the best at the moment. You know, from non-biased opinion, you're looking out there, you're thinking, I want to be him, or who looks like they've got the place dialed in, who's looking sharp.
I think I'm looking dialed in. Alex Vargas looks amazing, just on like the reads of the waves. Yeah, it's really impressive. Julian's surfing style here is really coming to play, I think, and that's looking impressive, because I think probably he's got the highest wave so far, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's on a wave where because it's pretty easy to find the air section here. You know, it's just, there's lots of them. So I think the difference is going to come from someone who's able to do a good turn and then an air, because it's really tricky to find a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, before the event, we had a few days, so we also got to see. We actually both thought Adam Warchaw had like an amazing chance. Like he was doing some amazing turns, like honestly better than a lot of the guys. And I think he'd be pretty disappointed with his result.
I had him as my kind of. This was before the comp. I seen a bit of him sailing stuff. I actually thought he might give Marcilio Brown a bit. Because even in the heat he went out in yesterday, the turn he does off that first section, and the way his board is moving, he looks so good. I was pretty disappointed for him, like not to see him go through, because I believe like style wise he was standout, like really standout. So
he was sailing really well. And talking on equipment, I had a go on one of his boards last night. And we had a session down the road, and it was really good. And as we were saying, on something like that, you could fit into the pocket, that real sharp pivot. Yeah, and like short, it felt short for fitting in the wave. It felt amazing, and you could see it on the turns. Were really impressive turns. So yeah, he was looking really well.
Yeah, I think him and Julian was always looking good in the contest, and like personally, I'd like to see him do really well. Just because I think he's been pushing that wave riding stuff for a few years, and he hasn't really, got there on a big event. Last year he did well, so I'd like him to do well, I guess. And trying to think who else is similar. I mean, I got to say Miguel in Topacama especially.
Yeah, I thought
I'd say he was getting like. Really good, like long waves and scoring waves, and like he's solid. A lot of the guys were like going crazy and crashing big, and he seemed to be quite confident in nailing, lots of maneuvers on the wave. So I think he could.
I feel like he stepped up, actually, Miguel. I feel like he's gone up a level. I don't know if that's, you know, change of sponsors, change of mindset, what, you know, whatever, his coming of age or whatever. But I thought he looked good as well. He's another guy that I thought, look, you know,
I mean,
outside chance, Brazinho and all the rest. You know, we're not, you know, obviously they've got the skills as well, but it's nice to kind of pick out these outsider little bets which might kind of upset a couple of the big ones.
There's a oh, sorry, mate. Keep going.
I was gonna say then on the the bigger names, the ones you usually see at the top. Like Marcilio's looked good in his heats. He's just looked like, I think that heat last night he got like a million waves.
yeah. He was smashing them.
He was looking really good, and I think that surfing turn that he does can really fit in here nicely.
Yeah.
There's a question. There's a question here that I'll. Sorry, Benny. I
was just going to say, any controversy on the beach? Is there
any blow-ups?
Any upset people? Anybody throwing the toys at the pram yet?
There was a couple of technical difficulties yesterday, but I think apart from that, it was quite smooth.
I don't think you can throw don't think you can really throw the toys at the prams here. You can't get to the judges there. There's that. It looks like one of the WSL type towers there.
Yeah,
like 15 foot up above us.
yeah, it's cool.
What's your general take on Chile itself and the event and everything? Because it looked epic from the outside looking in.
It's pretty epic, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of expected it to be, because I mean they had the 4-star last year. I thought it was just going to be kind of like that, but obviously just being a 5-star, and there's quite a lot of, you know, it's like a proper, it's like what you see in Tenerife and other places. You know, they got the proper judging tower, they got TVs showing the live stream all around the hotel and everything. And I think what's really cool to see, there's lots of local people, just like random local people, and loads of kids like watching, and they're just like amazed because it's such a good venue to watch from.
Yeah,
the whole setup there is perfect for it, really.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I have to say, it looks good.
Yeah, I think awesome. on the one of like Chile and in general, from my expectations, I thought kind of all the waves would be like Topo, where it's, you know, Topo's really easy to read. It's like everything's there for you to have. It's similar to the waves at home in the sense it's cross off, smooth. It runs like a point break, and it's just, you know, you can read it easily. Getting there is not so easy. But like Matanzas is not what I expected. It's a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah. It looks tricky, but I actually prefer it for a competition venue, because it's like, you know, Peru, they do the competition in Peru, which is amazing. But the wave is almost, to me, too perfect and long and predictable. Whereas in competition, from a commentator and a kind of fan's perspective looking in, if I kind of totally, I think it's that challenge and that extra bit of gnarliness and things happening which are not quite, you know, straightforward, makes it more exciting, because there's this element of extra stuff which, I'm sorry, your video.
I completely misread that. I remember that. And then I got this directly on the head right in front of the rocks. I was like, damn. Yeah, that one, I was waiting, because usually at that section, they kind of, often they wait a little bit, and the wave didn't look like it was going to bottom out. So that's why I tried to make like a high line to get down the line with it, and it just bottomed out. I just kicked the gear out over the top, and I went over the fall.
Was that the first wave? No.
First wave.
Yeah, first wave. I remember thinking, oh shit, he's on the rocks. It's like just kidding.
We didn't actually, no one actually ended up on the rocks, did they, in the whole event so far?
Nah, it's quite tricky. No. It's quite tricky. Like right in front of the rocks is about, you know, it's hip depth sand, so you can stand there and hold into it. And also they get more, so I think, get washed around or over the rocks.
Okay. Yep. Sure. It look on the camera, it kind of looks like it's just there in front of the wave, but obviously it's not.
It does feel like that a bit, but it's, I think you've got quite a bit of leeway. I think you'd be unlucky to literally end up on that.
I think when you first come in here, you're like, oh god, this doesn't feel right going like right over there. But then the guys are like, yeah, just go deeper, it's fine. So
you get quite a lot of backwash. you get quite a lot of backwash off the rocks. On that top section can be quite tricky to read, which clearly happened to me. It can be quite bumpy, and you can be doing a bottom turn and then all the wind's gone and you've got like bumps to go over from the reverb of it. And funny, another thing which I was thinking earlier, you don't really see it sailing, and I don't think you see it on the live stream, but the rip is incredible. Like,
no, you can see it.
Trying to get out.
See it. Yeah.
You see it often when you're sailing out. You start right up by the rock trying to gap out, and then you just have no wind in yourself because you're moving. This person here, you're moving faster than the wind, so you've just got nothing in your sail. But then also out back, it like on the sailing, it doesn't actually look, because generally you've got a bit of speed in your, and it's windier out back, so generally you're moving quite a bit. But I surfed it yesterday, and I couldn't stop paddling. I had to do like a run around multiple times just because you can't sit there at all. There's so much rip running down the point.
Yeah. It looks tricky. You guys did well. It's certainly, on one hand, it looks idyllic, but on the other hand, I'm sure it's quite tricky to sail well. Yeah,
it's funny. Like, I don't know if I'd recommend it to. Like, I'd say it's more to get the most of it. You want to be quite an advanced sort of wave sailor. Even Topocama, when you're on the wave, it's kind of easier, but to get on the wave at Topocama is really hard because you got the rock and there's just a massive wind shadow. So everyone is just like flapping around and falling off because gust comes, and to get on it's quite advanced.
The end section of Topocama from the video I watched from you looked pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that if you want to hit it,
it looks savage. There was people just coming up with gear left, right, centre. I was like, bloody hell.
Yeah, there's a lot of broken kit before the event, and that it was kind of playing on our minds a bit as well. It's like, right, let's just have enough gear for the event, because you could very easily just go through everything, and there's not too many options. There's not really too many options to fix or buy equipment here. So that's definitely.
Sorry, I was going to say, whose gear fell out of the ute?
Oh, well, actually, at one stage I did, but that no one else knows about that. Oh, in the vlog,
it's in the video, yeah.
No, but there was sorry, on the IWT WhatsApp group, there was a car came back missing all gear or whatever.
Yeah, that we were competing at the time, so we actually don't really know the bottom of that story. But I think driving over Topocama, someone lost 5 board bags, which is pretty scary.
That's devastating.
But it's funny, we had not to that extent. I'm not sure how you lose 5 bags without feeling it in the truck. But
that's what I want to know.
Driving back, because when we arrived here, we got the rental and we saw how many bags we had and put it in the back, and we were like, should probably have brought some roof racks.
It's not a deep truck, are they? They're not like bed. It's like a half bed, which means
like we've got the back door down, so the bags are overlying over the back. Yeah, that's one tip. If you're coming here, bring roof rack straps. So we had to drive. We put all our bags in the back, and we had to drive on the motorway, like doing what we're doing, like 20. It's like in the little overtake in the little inside lane, and like constantly just staring back at the gear. And we had these big trucks overtaking us because we were driving the wrong direction, like up the country to find a hardware store. And then we were driving through all these little villages and little roads, and we eventually found this hardware store. We found like these crank roof rack straps. So then that took us home, which was good. But then when we got here, the crank ones aren't very good. They're not like easy in racking up the boards and stuff. So when we go into Topo, we were struggling with making knots and stuff. And one day driving back, you've got quite a lot of, the way to gnarly, you've got all that like corrugation that just goes You've got roads on your way to Topo that are like that. And we had packed the bags and driving home in the evening, and I was driving. I just kept looking at the wing mirrors all the time because I knew our packing wasn't that safe. And then driving like, I'm like, bags. And I quickly put on the brakes. And we stopped, and like the bags were like, they weren't out yet, but they'd like slided all the way down. So they were like nose up, falling out the back of the truck. And we got around like, oh, booms are gone. So I ran down the road, and luckily I must have spotted it straight away, because Lucas's boom was, 25 meters down the road, so not far, but it was just lying there in the middle of the road.
Well, just bare booms, not in a bag.
Yeah.
Oh, did it destroy the grips up, or?
No, perfect.
Fine.
Oh, right, okay.
We're lucky with that one.
Yeah, perfect.
Wow.
I think that was pretty lucky that I just noticed it straight away.
Yeah, you're paying attention.
Christ.
Sounds funny. There's a comment here just quickly. I just thought I'd ask, since someone has asked the question. Thanos has asked, Finn and Lucas, how do you feel about your performance and your final results compared to your initial goals and expectations before coming here?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I actually didn't really have any goals at all, to be honest. I tend not to really set goals in contests, because I know from the past, anything can happen in heats, and it's better to be more performance goals setting performance goals rather than results goals. So I think actually I would have been quite happy to get to the final before the event. In the end of the day, I think we both really want to be in the main event, and that's where I see myself, watching all the guys. It's that's where I want to be and pushing. But I was being the first event for a few years anyway. Coming back, I was pretty happy to do the challenges actually, and I didn't set any goals. I mean, I think probably my goal was not to come last, and I kind of got past that, because that's never really a good one to go home to. So I guess now I'm happy. It's just annoying to get to the final and not to push through. I think that's almost worse. You come out in the semis, you're like, oh, okay.
You say it's worse. If you're in the semis, you've been feeling shit because you didn't make it. It's always the way it is. It's like, fuck, I'm sure it's worse being fourth than anywhere else. You're like, well, it's not. It's
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is Lucas, is you beat Finn.
I think for me, I had what was it? Yeah, I'd set a few goals on that. Well, first of all, when we first entered, we were like, this is going to be really difficult, the trials, because we'd seen the locals on our first day, and we were like, damn, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So in that sense, the first one was just to make my first heat, which I was happy, did that pretty easily. And then I think it was make the semis, so that was another box ticked on that. Make the final, and then it was to make it into the main event, which is the one I didn't get. But I think at the moment, still a bit disappointed not to make the main event with that ongoing. But I think when I look back, as you sailed through all those heats and make those heats and just fall tiny bit short in the main event in the final, I think I'll be happy with that when I look back on it. But yeah, for now I'd like to be in the main event.
I think there's a lot of discussions going on still, IWT, PWA, and the whole challenger thing. I think it's pretty new, so they're still working on it. But I think personally it would be cool to maybe have less wild cards and more, the top 4 challengers get through. I think would be really nice, or even have the main bracket a little bit smaller and the challenges a little bit bigger. There's still, I think, a lot of talk going around with that, but that would be nice. You get to the final and you all 4 get through.
Our thoughts on the top 4 going to the final definitely increased after.
The thing I will say is I think it's the perfect scenario as it plays out, like it just does. And again, whether it's 4 that goes through or 2 that goes through, and how many wild cards, I think it works. The only problem I think I have is if the forecast is bad, what do you do then? Because you know, I look at how long these heats are taking which is fine because the forecast is great. And I think no one's worried. Everyone's like, okay, you know, it's almost like a football game. We'll start at this time, we'll finish at this time, we'll do that many heats. It's like, it's as good as a windsurfing event can be. So it worries me if 1 year or a certain event, you don't get a nice run of a wind like this, because then what do you prioritize? Because yes, you've got to do the challenge and stuff, but you effectively want a result at a World Cup, you know, highest level. And that's the problem. And I think that's always been the problem, because otherwise the system we've got now, or you're doing now, which is Challenger fleet goes into the main fleet, just works amazingly well. And in a real amazing world, you would be in that Challenger fleet for the whole year, and then you would have a result from the Challenger fleet. So it would be like in England where we have the amateurs and the main fleet, and then you get this recognition for winning the, you know, you could call it whatever you want, you don't have to call it the Challenger fleet, but you could have this kind of recognition that you are the next up and comer because you have won this Challenger fleet for the whole year. And then you would have guaranteed entry to the main fleet for the next year or something like this. I mean, that's how I could see it working. It's just, it's very difficult to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I think that might be part of the whole of the aspirations that they want to do. You know, the 1, 2, 3, 4 stars is to build it up, so then you effectively get your ranking into the 5 stars from the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Yeah.
Which seems like a pretty fair thing, because then you're not, you know, say the older days and, you know, the Pozo days or something. As you said, you might get lucky, get the wild card, you're straight into Philip Costa in the first heat, and then you haven't gained anything from that.
Just thinking out loud here, maybe that trials thing that you've just done is a 3-star, you know, or whatever. You class it as a event. Do you know what I mean? So you just walked away with the 3rd place in the 3-star, whatever. Or, you know, so it's, I don't know how it would work. I don't know. I guess it counts 5-star. I guess they just count the result back. It's just added on to the main fleet, is it?
But they are getting points, aren't they? In those first. I mean, if you lose first heat or, you know, second heat, you are still getting points, aren't you?
Yeah, the chat in the main
Challenger.
event.
No, Challenger.
Yeah, the Challenger, the whole thing's got points. I'm not sure. Is it just down from the 5-star, like say the 30s, coming 33rd in the 5-star, or is it coming first in the 4-star?
Yeah.
But it's cool. I mean, it's definitely. Sorry, I was going to say it's cool to see that there's a bit of progression going on in running these events and trying to be a bit more inclusive and some kind of progression there that gives people a chance to get through a few heats. It's cool to see. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. I agree.
How's it looking today? Before we wrap up, what's it looking like?
It's cold
and foggy.
Is it?
Yeah, before we joined on here, I was doing some jumping jacks trying to warm up. I had my hat on my layers. It's chilly, and it's really foggy at the moment. You can't see a thing.
Is that normal? Does that usually clear up, or is that not a good sign, or do we know?
We've had different days. We've had a couple of days where it just stayed cloudy all day, but they were kind of forecasted to do that, and it was just from 8 a.m. to the evening. It just stayed this like real. Turn my laptop around. I'm not sure if you can see this. That white stuff is literally just that is cloud.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Usually we can see the beach and, you know, the big rock you see in the back of the live stream. We can see that from here. You can't see anything at the moment. Then I think days where it's like this, it's often a bit slower the start of getting windy.
Okay.
If it's sunny from the get-go, often gets windier earlier.
Because it's still got quite a few heats to go through. You know, like if they're long heats like yesterday, it takes a good while to get through.
Forecast does look good. I think at least the next week, I think there's wind. You see it on the forecast that like just the evening hours where it comes up at 1.
Okay.
It looks like there's wind for the next 5 days in a row.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's worried about that.
No, I didn't get that impression that people were worried, which is nice. You know, it's like, imagine if all windsurfing events were like this. You'd like, okay, we've got 10 days of wind. We're just going to plod through. We're going to do. You'd be how easy would that be?
Easy, yeah.
It's like no one's worried about waves. No one's worried about wind. Everyone's just like, yeah, okay. Turn up tomorrow, we'll get the next bit done. You know, it's not like oh my God, up at 6 just to check if there's a wave, or it feels like it's clockwork. Like, oh yeah,
I was going to say, actually, like, since I've got here, like, I literally just checked today, but like, I haven't really looked at the forecast the whole time. Kind of just woken up and
get up and
one, because I was like, before I came here, I was like, I don't want to look just in case it's shit, and then, you know, it's such a long way, and I was like, I'm just not going to look at the forecast. And you kind of just wake up and it's a similar routine every day. It's like not much wind in the morning, and then it picks up after midday. So it's pretty perfect, really.
On a free sailing day, the kind of thing to do is go to Topo in the morning. So like leave. What time's it now? Yeah, 9 o'clock. You kind of leave around 10:30, 10 o'clock. So it's pretty slow starting. You go there, gets windy, and then the wind builds and builds there. And then it gets what people here say is too windy wave sailing, like 4-2, 4-0 weather, which at home, I think for both of us is just when it's starting. And then at that stage, you drive back to here, and it's getting windy here.
Okay.
That's kind of like what our first 10 days look like.
Sounds bloody great.
I think we're both pretty keen to come back next year, you know, whether there's a contest or not.
Cool. And that's the thing, if there is a contest and it's every year, people can start to plan around it, because that's the nice thing. That's what I feel about this competition. Like, people are there for the competition, but it's not the be all and end all. It's like, well, it's a good excuse to go to Chile, sell some sick waves, and then we've also got the bonus that there's a competition. You know, like, I much prefer to see you boys all doing that rather than just turn up for the competition and leave straight away. It's like, it's got a nice build up again with you doing the vlogs, with other riders doing the vlogs, and you get this sense that there's like this build up to something happening, which I as someone back here following it from afar, I thought was really quite cool.
It's similar to Prozo in a way that the guys come early and train a bit.
Makes sense.
Big shout outs to you as well, Lucas, for the videos. I really enjoy them. They're awesome. I think it's definitely needed more, is that style of video where it's more like lifestyle driven than just pure action all the time. So keep it up, mate. I really enjoy it.
They're not like the most amazing things. Like
no, it's cool, mate.
We're just doing it on an old camera. It's fun to do. Yeah.
I think it's good. I think I prefer to watch that rather than edited to the music. Like, I want to kind of get a feel for what's happening. So that your video kind of gave me an idea of what's actually happening. Because I see it with my videos, and the ones that go down well are the ones that get the most engagement. Maybe they don't get the biggest views, but they get the most engagement from people really enjoying them, are those ones where people can kind of almost feel like they're there with you, and they experience those bits with you, as well as a bit of sailing. And, you know, if, you know, the windsurfers watching, we're not going to drag in like non-windsurfers, but, you know, it's a small market, but I think it's quite a cool thing. I think it's quite useful.
It's tricky. I mean, it's tricky with videos. Oh, sorry, Lucas. I was just going to say it's tricky because sometimes there's a huge, you know, you make videos, I make videos, Ben makes videos, but you tend to sort of look at the views as the be all end all, and, you know, if it's a success or whatever. But I'm sort of like, for example, your videos are probably my favorite videos to watch, that style, even though sometimes videos might not always get as much as someone else who just has, I don't know, something else. But I thought I would just mention it because the lifestyle thing, I think, is what's going to drive people into windsurfing and just get connected to the people. Like when I saw you on the heat, I was like, oh yeah, I was like rooting for you. I was like, yeah, I know Lucas. I see him in the videos, you know, whereas obviously some of the other sailors, I don't know them. I mean, that's just because, so it's valuable. I think
it's definitely, it's something that I was kind of talking about with some guys. It's, you know, I don't like, I do them because like it's fun to do. Like it's good for people at home, like friends, the family, they can kind of catch up and see what's going on. And I'm not getting paid like directly from sponsors, but it definitely helps that kind of side of things. And for me, it's like coming here. Maybe I didn't get to the final. Maybe I just missed out or something like that. I think you quite very easily get forgotten. And you know, get like some video content and stuff. People will be like, "Oh yeah, Lucas, the guy, like you made that really cool video or whatever." You can kind of get more attention that somebody who maybe even came like 15th in the main event.
Yeah,
you know, after a few months, everyone forgets about.
And the thing is, Lucas, if you want external sponsors and whatever sponsors, they've got to buy into what you're doing. So it can be as simple as some windsurfer out there who enjoys following your stuff. And if you're documenting it, they feel way more invested in like, oh, I'll help that fucking dude out, you know, give him a couple of quid, you know, and that's the windsurfing. It's never the big bucks, but little bits here and there and that type of thing can definitely fund a good lifestyle and getting around the world and trying to chase your dream of, you know, whatever in competitions and stuff like this. But it obviously costs money. So there's got to be a way where people can kind of understand what you're going through, buy into it. If you're just going and then speaking to them afterwards, yeah, I had a good time, I did this. It's like, oh, great. Whereas if you have a story documented, it doesn't matter really on the result. You know, it's the whole story around it, which is the interesting bit. I think for me anyway.
It's all about a story. It's just all about a story for viewers, I think. Yeah, so anyway.
Right. All right, boys.
Cool.
Thank you very much for dropping in. Enjoy the rest of the competition. How long are you staying for?
Till the day after the 13th.
Okay. Well, good luck. Hope you get you. Are you going to be sailing Tropicana? Or are you just staying and watching? What's the plan? You go early and then come back?
I think I'm going there this morning.
Yeah.
I'm undecided. Like it's actually really like amazing just to watch the contest. Like I'm just quite into that bit as a fan. And like I don't really have a big urge to go sailing. Like weirdly, I don't know if it's because of the whatever.
It's probably because you've just had 2 weeks of like solid.
But yeah, we're going to get some good sailing in definitely before we go. And yeah, we can definitely push now. And if we break gear, it doesn't really matter. So we'll go for it now.
Easier coming home.
Look, Lucas, if you want to make a good YouTube video, strap a GoPro to your head and just sail in through the final. Just sail in and start catching some waves.
Yeah, like streaker.
Yeah, like a streaker. Oh yeah, you could go naked as well. No, okay, maybe don't do that. No, awesome to meet you, boys, and yeah, all the best with the rest of your time in Chile, and yeah, look forward to catching up next time.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
No worries. Cheers for dropping in. Right, see you in a bit.
Yeah.
See you, boys.
We're gone.
Just cut him off, Betty. Get out.
Go. God.
That's cool.
Dude, I think we're done, are we? It looks like we're going to have some action if that mist clears up this afternoon by the sounds of it over in Chile. And we'll see who goes further in this competition. You want to make any predictions? Who's your money on? You've got to give me an outside prediction, like someone who's not in the top sort of 5, top 10 in the world, like outsider, and a dead cert to make the final. 2 riders, outsider, dead cert.
Well, dead certain. I'll go with Costa. And is Alex Vargas an outsider?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. He's
cool. All right. So that's the men, and the women. I'm going to go with Sol as the outsider because and Justina in the final. I'll go with Justina because she seems to be sailing quite well in Port Tack. What about you, Benny?
Are you going to copy me? People now, and I'm just like looking down. I'm like Victor Fernandez, Julian Salmon, Bert Rodriguez. I
mean, of course.
So you know, something when you start reading the names, it's like, wow. You know, like to me, Brasinho looks like he's just on it. But as I've looked at the names now, I'm thinking there's so many options here. Like I thought Miguel Chapuis kind of stood out. Local riders, you know, like you say, Alex Vargas, Tom Bar, looked good as well. Jules Donnell looked good. Costa looked good. Antoine Martin. Bernd Rodiger, I thought he looked good. Julian Salmon. Maybe Julian Salmon.
Well, as the...
Well, yeah, I guess is he an out? I don't even know. He's not really an outsider, but he is compared to like the Brasileños of the world. But for me, he's not. I think he's got the skills. I think Julian could do some damage. Miguel maybe is a real outsider. I think come the locals. That Benjamin, I thought he looked good as a local. So there you go, Benjamin Fabrice. Yeah, I'm rubbish at this game. I'm telling you the rules.
I'm completely confused. I don't know who you've chosen, Benny. You've basically just listed every sailor. I was like, well, they're all going in.
It's impossible. I'm gonna.
You're gonna sit on the fence.
I think I might have to, looking at those names. No, I think. But the thing is, if I say Brasileño, it just seems a bit lame because it's like. Well, he is leading the world title. He is looking good. It's okay, fair enough.
I know. Well, that's the game.
I feel like that bottom end of the draw that's in Salmon. I'm going Salmon.
Salmon. Okay. And what about the women?
The women is interesting. I thought Sarah Hauser, looked pretty good finding her feet. I think, like you say, Justina's got a good chance. Port Tack down the line. If there's any chance for her. I'm just looking at our list. Maria Andras. I thought she got Lena Erpenstein.
All right.
Alexia Kiefer. I'm going just to be different to you. Or Jane Seaman. Shit.
Oh,
Jane in down the line. Port Tack, pretty chunky.
Yeah, that's true. Jane as well.
She has been around a long time, but she has still got. I think she's a tricky competitor.
Definitely.
I think Jane Seaman, and then Lena Erpenstein, Alexia Kiefer.
Cool.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. I tell you, that's just, I think we'll round it up there because just me going through them names just realizes what exciting heats we've got to come. Because when you're looking down a list like that and you're just names are jumping out of you, they are going against each other today. So we'll get a much better idea at the end of today. I'm hoping we're going to see some upsets. I'm hoping we're going to see some, the names that have not really pushed through yet, like come of age and really challenge the top boys. I'd love to see, like I said, some big names going down. I mean, not for the big names, but I just think it's just nice stories to be had. And I think everyone looks like they've got some skills to offer. So, yeah.
I like your. Well, the good thing about your answer is you've covered all bases. It doesn't matter who's going to win. We can edit it. You'll have actually said the name somewhere. So
I actually probably not. I left Jules to tell out. I left.
I'm sorry, you left one guy.
I left maybe. I was looking before. Morgan de Roe.
I know. No, there's a lot. Just stirring.
All right. Marino Gill. Oh, there's too many. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Join the live stream later. It sounds like it's misty at the moment. When that clears up, I'm sure they're going to be going into competition and we will get closer and closer to those final rounds in the men and the women. Thanks for joining us. I know these things are long and they're not for everyone, but I hope it gives a few of you that are interested in it a bit of a rundown. It's a bit of a long watch if you're watching the live stream as well. So. Right. Until the next time. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Benny. Thanks, everybody. Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Have fun. Bye.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.